Hello friends, my name is Nimit and welcome to the series Scaling Databases. Today we will be learning about various techniques that we can use to scale up our database system. So before we dive into it, first we need to discuss that why actually do we need scaling. So what are the reasons that you might want to upgrade your one system database architecture into multiple nodes, because we know that if we scale, then it would increase the complexity of the system. But there is a point in life cycle of uh, each system that we have to scale, and there is no other option. So let's look at some of the various use cases of scaling. So one could be scalability itself. With scalability, I mean that let's say your database is doing more read and writes that than it can handle. So your database will be working at full capacity, and it will be having high load averages and all those things. So you don't want that in your system. You want your system to be working just below just below its full capacity, so that if the need arises, you have a buffer. So first point is to scale. Second could be if you only have one system in your one database in your system, then it is a single point of failure. Let's say if your database goes down, then that means that your whole application goes down. So we always try to remove these single point of failure. So failure. And third point could be that it could lead to latency issues. Like let's say your database is in USA and your customers are in India, right? So you need to scale, and to cater to those customers, you would want a data center in India as well. So another third reason is latency. There could be various reasons for this, but these are the three most basic: scalability, failure, and latency. There are two basic approaches that we can take when we are scaling up. First one is vertical scaling. The So if we think about it, the most basic way of scaling up is buying a more powerful machine. We buy a machine which has a better CPU, better RAM, and more hard disk space. Then we can say that we have scaled up our system and our load of the system would decrease. But in such system, there is a serious disadvantage, because the cost of these systems doesn't grow linearly. So let's say if I have to double my CPU or double my RAM, then I would be paying more than double the amount. So these so this is the most basic problem, that after a point it gets like it makes no sense to buy so expensive machines. Another factor with vertical scaling is that there is still a single point of failure, because we are putting all our money on the one machine. So we only would have this DB, and we would be scaling up this DB instance, and this will be the single point of failure. And the third problem that we discussed, latency, still remains, because one geographical user base won't be able to access your database as readily as other. So you wouldn't be able to scale it across various geographical regions. So that's why mostly vertical scaling is not done after a point. Then we come on to the second approach that many people are taking and will take for probably in future as well, which is horizontal. In horizontal scaling, we have multiple machines. This is machine 1. Let's say this is machine 2 and machine 3. All these machines run the same software of our database. So this is like DB1, this is DB2, this is DB3, and they are interconnected by network internet. And each of these machines is known as a node. So this can be also shown as node 1, node 2, and node 3, so on and so forth. And as you mentioned, they are connected by internet. Now, this uh, with this, you are just replicating your one machine into another machine. You would have two copies of the same machine. So there is no single point of failure. Like if machine 2 goes down, we still have machine 1 and machine 3 working. Also, you can distribute these machines across across different geographical locations. Like M1 could be in US, M2 could be in, let's say, Australia, and this M3 could be in Asia. So what you are doing is you are distributing your database across different geographical regions to give best user experience to your users. Now, for horizontal scaling, we would need data to be same in all the instances of databases. So for that, we need replication of our data from, like, in between all these nodes. So we will talk about replication now. Now, when you are scaling your database, the basic thing is that you will be would want to replicate data from one node to another node. Right? Let's say this is DB1 and this is DB2 and this is the DB third instance. So basically, the main challenge is the replication of the data. Whatever DB1 has, that state should be consistent with DB2, and that state should also be consistent with DB3. So when I say replication, replication is just a process of copying data from DB1 to DB2 and DB1 to DB3. That is, the data should be consistent in system, in our whole system. So that is replication. Now there are various techniques through which we can scale our databases. So let's go over them one by one. One is master slave. Another is master master. So basically we have four major techniques. Third one is federation, and fourth one is basically sharding. Master slave is also known as leader, single leader. Master master is also known as multiple leader. Yeah, and these two are leaderless. So in this uh, video, we will be mostly going to talk about master slave. So let's talk about master slave. So what happens in master slave is that we have a single master node and we have some slave nodes. So these are slave nodes. Whatever it is written to master is copied to this slave node. This is the replication that we were talking about just now. And whenever a client makes a write request, it always goes to master, and read request can also go to master as well. But if client makes a read request, then it goes only to slaves or master. But the write request, if a client sends, that only goes to master. So all the writes are to master, and reads can be either the master or a slave. So that's basically master slave. Now this configuration of master slave include the replication of this the data whatever is written on the master to slave. Now let's say something is some write query is done on master, it needs to be replicated on the slave. Now if we think about it, then there can be two ways in which these queries can be replicated. One is asynchronous, and another would be synchronous. What happens in synchronous is that, let's say we do a write to our database, it waits to replicate it to each and every slave and then only responds as the write has been completed. So with synchronous we may write to, so in synchronous when we have this db and this client, let's say, and we have this slave, this is master, we do a write. So it first does the write to slave and then to this slave, then only we get a 200 okay. So this kind of technique in replication is slower compared to asynchronous. This is and the performance is bad, so less performance. Now if we see what asynchronous is, so in asynchronous the client writes to db, and instantaneously when it is written to master we get a good response, and in background it copies the data that has been written to master to slave. So that is asynchronous. We write, we don't wait to get it copied to each slave, we get 200 instantaneously, and at later point, by later we mean just fractions of second late, it is copied to slave. So this is asynchronous. Alright, asynchronous with this and synchronous with this. Now, problem with asynchronous is that you can get consistency problem. Let's say you write something on DB1 and someone reads on this slave and it hasn't been updated. So you wouldn't get the correct copy of the data on slave. So this is, and also you are giving the response fast. So this has a better performance. So better performance, but that performance comes on the cost of consistency. So there is a third technique where we mix and match these synchronous and asynchronous. So some of the slaves are synchronous and other of the slaves are asynchronous. So let's say this is our master. This one slave, let's say we keep always as sync, and these slaves are async, these two. So in these kind of scenarios, you get best of both worlds because this slave would always be consistent with your master, while these can update later. So you have consistency, and uh, you have better performance because all of your slaves are not synchronous. Also, when I say that why don't we make synchronous uh, by default, the problem is that let's say we have all our slaves as synchronous and one slave goes down. So your write operation will keep on waiting on that non-working your non-working slave. So your write operation won't be able to complete. So that's why synchronous is uh, not preferred generally. So and asynchronous is not preferred because of the consistency issues. So Both async and synchronous are used in mix and match kind of situation, like we have explained. This is semi sync. This is also called semi asynchronous. Sorry, semi synchronous. So these are the basics. Now, another point that we have to consider while making large systems are how would we handle if there are, let's say, outages in systems. So in this case, we have only two systems, master and slave. So if we can consider each scenario for each master and a scenario for slave, then we will be able to define our system in much better terms. So let's say first we consider a slave fails. So we have this master, we have this slave, and something happens and this slave goes down. So nothing your system would still work because if this slave goes down, the other clients would start reading from this slave and this master, uh, and we like nothing much would happen to our system. But we have to consider the scenario what will happen if it comes back again. So let's say it went back, this went and then came back up. So this slave would have timestamp of the last replication that it did from the master. Then it will request the master again for all the details. So it will ask master, give me data, and master would give all the updates to this slave, and then this slave can start working as usual because now it is up to date with master. So this is the scenario when a slave fails. So this is slave failure. Now let's consider when a master fails. In technical terms, it is called as a failover, and there can be multiple reasons that there is a failover, like the main master is not working or something like that. Also, in certain scenarios, the DB administrator itself takes the master down if master is not behaving correctly, or let's say there is an increased replication lag in the system. So another failover. So this is your master, these are your slaves. Now with it in a better handwriting. Uh, Now when there is a failover, like when the master fails, then there are two scenarios that can happen. What I can do is that if in my system I make a constraint that if master fails, then don't accept any write. So that's one way of handling a failover. Don't accept any write. So your system would only read, but only your system would able to do like give out read queries response, but not a write response. So don't write. But then your system won't be available. So it can work sometimes, but generally people don't prefer because if because then your master is a single point of failure, which we don't like in our distributed system. So that is one way of solving a failover. Second is that when one master fails, we elect another leader. So these and to elect a leader, we need a election. So in computer science terms as well, it is known these election algorithms are used, and with these election algorithms, a slave is converted to a master, and then it and then also let's if we have to consider the simplest of the election algorithm, it would be the one slave with the let's say the latest timestamp of the write would be change to master. But there are more complexity involved into it, and there are various algorithms for elections as well. We will go into detail of these election algorithms in another video. Okay, we have talked basically about the architecture and how would we be handling any outages. Now, another very fundamental question arises, that how are we replicating the data? Like we mentioned that from master, the data gets replicated to slave, but actually there should be some algorithm or something that we are doing on DBs on the database level that is helping us to replicate the data from one database to another. So let's see into it. These are propagations, how the propagation happens. So there are basically three techniques for these propagation. One is statement based. So what happens in statement based is that if someone does a, let's say, select query or update query, then these queries are directly read these que- these queries are directly redirected to a slave machine. So if I do select some, sorry, not select, it should be insert. So insert. So let's say I insert anything into my database. That insert query is directly redirected to another slave that you also insert this thing. So master and slave, this the insert and update will directly go to this slave. So that's statement based. But one disadvantage of these kind of propagation is that, let's say if I have a non-deterministic insert, could be that our insert is using rand, which is random. So that way your data wouldn't be consistent on master and slave. Let's say with random, in master you got a number 26, while on slave you got a number 12. So your data won't remain consistent. So this is one disadvantage of this statement based replication. This can be solved by, let's say, evaluating these statements at the master and then copying this statement to the slave. But again, there can be many edge cases where these non-deterministic problems could arise. So that's why it is not mostly used in production. Another way is write ahead logs. In this way, whatever is written at a lower level to our system is copied to another slave. So let's say at end of the day, if I write anything on database, it would be written on the file system or the RAM for the simplicity. So let's say this is my disk of the master, and something is written in the some block of it, and same that block is, let's say, copied to slave. So this block is copied to this slave, let's say. So this is actually a log that is being written on the kind of a log that is being written on the master, and that we have copied to our slave. So this is one of the method, write ahead log. Disadvantage of this is that, let's say I want to upgrade my system. So master is at version 1.0 and slave is at 1.1. I can't do this because the underlining architecture in which the data is saved, or let's say the architecture of these logs can change, right? So let's say between 1.0 and 1.1 there was a change in this. So what I would have to do is that take a downtime and make everyone at 1.1, or just keep it at 1.0. So to have a you can't have rolling upgrades with write ahead logs. So this is one of the disadvantage. No rolling upgrade. because this works at an underlying layer, and it is independent of the above layers. So there could be an issue with version mismatch. So that's why one of the disadvantages. Another is row-based replication. In row based, what happens is that we apply the changes that are applied to a rows of master to the slave. So let's say if we do a update statement, now this would first check the rows which are affected, check rows change, and then these it would save some kind of unique identifier for these rows, and then would propagate to master that please change these nodes, these rows. So propagate to slave, and then slave would make changes. So that is row-based replication. So these are basically these are basically the methods to replicate. Now finally to the last part of scaling these techniques. That is one of the most important point to consider in production. That is replication lag. So I can tell you personally, when we see that our database is not performing at the optimal capacity, first parameter that we look at is the replication lag of the databases of various slaves. Replication lag. So so first first let's see what replication lag means. So as we discussed that data is replicated from the master to slave, and there is a tiny fraction of difference between when data is written to the master, like from the master to slave, and if that time that is required to write from the master to slave increases, that is known as the replication lag. So let's say this is a master, this is a slave, and there is some network situation between these two, like a router failed, so it has to take a longer route, and these could be multiple seconds that this data from master to slave is taking. So we say that the replication lag of our system is very high. So we say increased latency is the reason for this replication lag. Another possibility could be that if our actual writes have increased, let's say first I was operating with 1x writes, and suddenly these writes spike to 10x, then each of the slave would be copying more data. Hence, the speed at which, like, not the like the speed at which the data would be copying would remain constant, but the amount of data is high. So the actual time taken to copy the last thing would be high, right? So that could be one possibility. Another possibility could be, let's say our database were already working at full capacity, and now it has just the writes have increased a little, and your data load average has spiked, so it is having problem and it is doing more work than so expected. So that could be one reason. So first was write increase, then full capacity. So yeah, so basically these replication lag can give us some consistency problem in our system, uh, because let's say someone is someone has written on master and reading from slave, so he wouldn't get the updated state of the data. So that is one of the consistency problems. Let's look more into the problems. These problems, they have some specific names. So but the general idea is that they lead to some consistency issues. So let's name them. One is read your own rights. Sorry for my bad handwriting. I will try to improve. Yeah. So what happens in read your own writes is, let's say I am filling a form on a site, and whatever the data I have entered is written to the master, but I press refresh, and there is a replication lag going on in my system, and I press refresh. I have written it, but when I refresh, I don't see the data. So this is a very bad experience for a user. So that is the read your own rights problem, that you write to master and there is a replication lag. Let's show it by 10 lines. And when you read, you don't get the data. So one way to solve is that you have to change something at your application level. Like, I know that if I have changed some settings in my profile, then read only at the master. So these are some of like there are some of the techniques to uh, work around these read your own rights problem. Like, if there is something which is very important to your website, like, let's say, votes, or transaction, the bank amount, which is very important, like you want it to be always consistent after the write. So those kind of reads are forcefully done from the master, so that your reads are always updated. So that is one solution for read your own write problem, like read from master for important data. Another problem is called monotonic reads. In monotonic reads, let's say we have a master, we have a slave, we have a slave. Now, let's say our website is serving some counter for votes, and there is a replication lag. So this slave head, let's say, has 15 votes currently for the same data, and this has 10. So if a user first has this web application, he sees 15 votes, and when I refresh, I get 10 votes. So actually, the these votes cannot decrease, right? But to user, it seems that vote has decreased, which is not possible. So the data is the data is being moved in backward in time, like when it was earlier, like because there is a replication lag. So these are called monotonic reads. Like, this has data 15, this has 10, and this you get served second time. So this is the problem. And solution for monotonic read is that, let's say, we fix that this user one would always read from slave one. So even if he refreshes, he would only get data from slave one only. So he can't ever go backward in time, because this slave one would always be updated. He won't get a read request from slave two. This can be done, let's say, based on hashing of user ID. The most basic is that, let's say, user ID is 10 or 100, and we do mod 2. So this would always give us 0, and let's say 0 represents our S1, so he would always get consistently 0, and would always get a read from this S1, so we will be able to solve the problem. That is monotonic read. And last issue is somewhat uh, complex, so we will talk about it in a later video when we will talk about uh, consistency, exactly solving these consistency problem and transactions. So this is consistent read. So in this, it says that if you do a write one and then a write two, then the order in which the writes are replicated on the slaves matter. So let's say
Let's say we have a random string A, and our right one adds B to it. So, so this becomes A plus B, and our right to add C to it. So this becomes AB plus C. Now the final result of this would be A, B, C on our master. Now let's say there is a consistent prefix read problem. So read is to write to read. Read is to write to read. So let's rewrite it. Read. Sorry for the writing. I have to. So this was write one and write two. Now let's say this is master. This is slave, and on this slave, first write two comes and then write one comes. While on the master, it was write one and write two. So what would happen is that first A would be concatenated with C, which would is write two, and then write would come. Then this would A, C would be concatenated with B. This would be A C B, which is inconsistent with the master. So the master would have A, B, C. So one way is to solve this is to have W1 and W2 in one transaction. So these are always executed sequentially and in order, write one and write two, and in slave as well it is replicated write one and write two. So these are kind of in transaction, and we will talk about in a later video to how to exactly have the transaction and what benefits they bring. So that's all for today. Hope you guys are able to understand that what are the like one of the techniques that is master slave architecture to replicate our data over multiple systems and distribute it distribute our load and scale out our system. Hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to give it a like and to subscribe to us, and please if you can share it with your friends. Thank you.